Hi, this is an Ignite talk about the content of the proposed EclipseCon talk on how to distribute, store and version models with the EMFStore repository. The EMFStore has been recently accepted as an Eclipse project and is currently in the parallel IP process. Model-driven development in Eclipse is often done with the Eclipse modeling framework. The idea is that you create a model and from that model with EMF you generate code to create your product. These products that you create from the models, for these you have multiple developers collaborating on them, and one way to collaborate is online collaboration. So everyone is working on a shared copy of the model and everyone is writing onto that model, like for example the red developer here does, and he does his red changes. Another way of collaborating that we very well know from code is everyone will check out his or her copy of the contents, in this case a model, and will manipulate this model in a local workspace as the red developer does here, for example. And then from time to time, of course, the developers will share their changes. So here the red developer pushes in his changes into the central repositories and the other developers can update, so that the yellow or orange developer ends up with the changes of the red developer and his own changes in the local workspace. Now the problem with offline collaboration is that from time to time it might happen that the developers push in overlapping changes, which is a conflict. And in order to resolve that conflict, we need to do merging. This is already very well done for code, and EMFStore supports that very well for models. So EMFStore supports offline collaboration. Everyone can check out his or her model and then resynchronize with the repository, which is the EMFStore. Now you might ask, okay, there is already a model repository called CDO, so what's the difference? The main difference is online versus offline. So the CDO model repository basically always works online, and this is on the upper left corner, and in the lower right corner you can see offline collaboration. The CDO repository is very scalable. So it supports an advanced mode where the objects can be garbage collected, which is not the case with the normal EMF and also not the case with the EMFStore. And finally, the third difference is about model migration. EMFStore supports automatic model migration based on the EDAP project, which recently has been renamed to the EMF Migrate project, while with CDO you have to write manual model migrations for your existing models. And now I'm just going to give a short demo of what you can do with the EMFStore. I'm going to set up and start the EMFStore. I'm going to do a checkout, commit, modify a model, update, merge, and then finally show the history browser. So let's start with setup and the server. The only thing you need to do is you will configure launch configuration with the server as a product, and you will add your model plugins so that the server knows your model. And then you just execute the server. For the client, you do the same, so it needs to know your model, and then you just launch it as a normal Eclipse application, but with all the EMFStore plugins. And EMFStore also includes plugins for the client side as well as UI. Now for the checkout, we can start using this UI. One UI is the EMFStore browser. It is something like the SVN or CVS repository browser. Shows you the available EMFStore servers and the projects that you can check out from these servers. Once you have obtained the checkout, it'll go into your local workspace, which is visualized by the navigator. The navigator is part of the EMF client platform and has been integrated into the EMFStore. And you can here from this local workspace do your commits and updates and so on. And what you can also do is you have a very basic reflective editor where you can open up the model elements, which is very useful for the first project phases where you might not have a running application yet with your own editors. Of course, you can replace these editors later on. Then for committing, you can do that from your local workspace. You will get a commit dialog where you can enter a commit message, and you can also see the changes that you have done, like for example here that you have created a functional requirement for this particular model and added it into the structure. Now the same is true for the update. You can get an update dialog describing the changes that are coming in from the repository. And of course when you do an update, it might happen that your local changes conflict with the changes that are incoming from the repository. And for that, there is an already existing merge UI, It's an interactive merge where you get an description of what is conflicting. So here you can see you have changed the reference stakeholder of functional requirement to Kögel. This reference was set to Helming on the repository. Please decide. And then you can choose what to do for this merge. Since we have this merge facility, of course, everything is versioned as well. So you have every version that you ever checked into the repository. You can visualize that in the history browser. And in the history browser, you can also check out this version and go back to an existing previous version of your model. That was this for this talk. I hope you liked the contents, and this reflected what I'm going to present in the proposed talk on the EclipseCon, should it be accepted. Thank you.